Please welcome John Downing, Visa Europe Collab, and Edan Yago, Epiphyte.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to what I hope will be a very interactive session. We've always got the thrill of a live demo today, which for those of you who've done live demonstrations in the past, you know it can always go one of two ways, but obviously we're hoping for the best, and let's see where we get to. So this afternoon, myself and Edan, who's the CEO and founder of Epiphyte, are going to talk to you about three key elements. The first is around collaborations between global brands and startup companies. How to make them work successfully. Now, we think that we've had a very successful collaboration over the last few months. The second is around how to take an idea, concept in people's heads sketched out on a drawing board, to a working proof of concept within 100 days. And that's something which we did and are going to showcase for you this afternoon. And then the third piece is about how we then used that proof of concept to then showcase and share with key stakeholders, both within Visa, across some of our bank clients and members, and also with consumers to gather live research and feedback of how a new type of remittance capability could work. So all to follow in the next few minutes. Let me first of all just tell you a bit about Visa Europe Collab. So we are the innovation hub of the European component of Visa Europe. And it's our mission, our passion, if you like, to look at some of the emerging technologies, some of the new ideas and thinking to determine some types of competitive differentiation, some new products and services that we could introduce which would give new value to all parties within the payments ecosystem that we serve. So we look far and wide. That could just be the banks, but it will also in the future be retailers, consumers, and different parties who engage in that space and domain. Now it's very important to say, and it's a key element of this conversation this afternoon, is that we recognise we cannot do this alone, that we, Visa Europe, have some real skills and capabilities, but there's also areas which are new for us, and we have been scouring and looking for the very best talent around the startup community and other organisations to collaborate with, to really fuse together some of the best of breed of what we can bring and new organisations and fresh thinking can bring as well. So we're very open to ideas and to collaborations, hence the name Visa Europe Collab. The space and domain we work in, we sort of think and look at payment ideas, both the next generation, if you like, the evolutionary opportunities. So it could be the next generation of identity and authentication, of contactless, that type of thing. But also look at revolutionary ideas as well. And I would, from my perspective at least, the work we've been doing within the blockchain domain and looking at payments and looking at what future things that could offer an organisation like Visa definitely falls into the revolutionary space. And a lot of the work that we do in workshops, engagements, really trying to tease out what are the problems and challenges we're trying to solve, both from a business perspective and from a human perspective. What are the things that we could explain in plain English so people understand what we're trying to do? Now, even within the payments domain, it is quite a vast area, and we recognise that to be effective, we needed to hone some of our thinking and energy. And what you see on the screen behind you are the 6 key areas of focus that within Visa Europe Collab we've been putting our time and energy in over the last year. And I will mention that we only started and set ourselves up just over 12 months ago. And blockchain is an area we're really interested in, really passionate about, and recognise that it does cut across a number of these other themes as well. So we've been exploring some thinking around identity across the blockchain, or sort of inclusion opportunities and how that may work with cryptocurrencies in that space. So we're also looking for the interconnectedness. Now when we started putting our time and energy into thinking about some of the power and potential of the blockchain and distributed ledger technologies, we needed a way of trying to start to concentrate our thinking. And the way we did it was we looked across all the growing use cases, both financial and non-financial, and then started prioritising them across the landscape visual you see behind me. And out of those, we started highlighting the areas that we were most interested in trying to solve first, either because they were adjacent to some of the products and services we offer today, or we could see a natural evolution. And that's what really got us excited and interested around remittances. Now, from a remittance perspective, there was a recognition from our innovation unit there's an opportunity to tap into a future revenue stream, but you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start with some experimentation thinking and some concepts and ideas. And so we wanted to look at how we could extend some of the capabilities to new constituents and new parties. And we started off with a very simple premise of saying, could we introduce a remittance service which was both cheaper, quicker, and easier to use from the consumer perspective, but benefited all parties in between? And finally, we recognise the power and strength of the global Visa brand and our processing capabilities within the network that we support and serve. But what our sort of long-term vision is to look to see how we could deliver that type of value across other payment networks as well. So to be almost like a network of networks. And what we wanted to test in this particular proof of concept is how we could traverse across different payment networks and show how value could be transferred. Now, when we started that thinking and we looked across different companies who offered original ideas and thinking in that space, and we're very excited about what we saw with Epiphyte. Epiphyte, as Eden will explain in a minute, has some real strong capabilities and some real passion and thinking in this space and domain, and we saw a real opportunity to partner together to put a proof of concept, and within 100 days we then ran a very effective test which we engaged different communities to gather feedback as well. I'll just briefly mention before handing over to Eden some of the key things that we learnt. You'll see from the demonstration how quick and easy some of the work activities were, how we could move payments across. But also we were able to practically demonstrate this network of network effect, where payments were going from a simulated Visa account across the Bitcoin network and then arriving as an M-Pesa text credit. So going across 3 payment networks. So it was really trying to pull together some of those elements that gave us the power and energy to kind of work and operate in this space. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Eden, my partner in this work activities, who's going to take us through, talk a bit about Epiphyte and then how the proof of concept works.
Thank you, John. It's been a real pleasure for Epiphyte to work with Visa, the single largest payment provider in the world, because what Epiphyte does is we're seeking to help financial institutions utilize the permissionless networks that create the blockchain, or what we call the interchain, the set of protocols to perform transactions in a more efficient manner. The thing is, we're rapidly coming to expect that payments within a payment system should be basically free and basically instantaneous, even when we're talking about domestic payments, interbank payments. Maybe not here in the US, but definitely in the developed world. And so the problem arises when we start trying to do payments between payment systems. If I want to send money from my PayPal to my PayM account, if I want to use a Visa card to transfer money to someone who's got a MasterCard, or if I want to do an international payment. In other words, payments between systems remain expensive, slow, and risky. And so what Epiphyte is utilizing the interchain for is to provide an open standard of real value transactions that can be performed as a fabric tying these different payment systems together. And the way we do that is we provide what we call a chain reactor. It has 4 primary components that we've built up based on customer feedback over the last 2 years. The first function it provides is a single interface allowing financial institutions to securely perform messaging and monitor transactions across multiple different protocols. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and negotiate transactions across them. At the same time, what we're also providing is transaction routing, finding the best path of execution across different types of vendors or across different types of protocols, and locating the liquidity required in order to provide a payment. And then there are the two other components, the bottom side of the screen, which are not transactional but are critical in a regulated financial world. The first is KYC AML, where we're providing two primary functions. The first is the ability to take information from the institution, tie it intrinsically to the transactions that are being performed by the KYC'd individual or entity on the blockchain, and track their transactional experience even past what the institution would usually be able to see, and then also be able to share this information over the blockchain as part of the transaction between institutions, providing a new way of doing fraud monitoring and AML. And the second is we are doing something very complex, performing transactions across multiple jurisdictions and multiple different payment systems, each with their own rule set. And so we create a smart contract governing each and every single one of these transactions and tie them together as a daisy chain of smart contracts such that the entire transaction, instead of settling over 3 days, executes instantaneously as one transaction. And this is what it looks like and what we're going to show you today. What we've been utilizing this for is remittance payments, which are highly complex and expensive payments. In this particular example, a sender wants to take pounds, send them across the world to somebody else who is going to be using Kenyan shillings, and do so across 3 different networks. They're going to initiate the transaction with the Visa network. It is going to be converted into, those funds are converted into a digital asset in a way that the customer doesn't have to understand. As far as the customer is concerned, they're only dealing with pounds. And that digital asset is then provided to the M-Pesa network as mobile money. And this whole thing happens in real time. And these are the 2 big problems we're solving. The first is, how do you manage in a pseudonymous system KYC and AML? And the second is, how do we deal with volatility? So with KYC, we're going beyond what is today possible in best-of-class systems because of the ability to share and the ability of transparency provided by the blockchain. And we can provide for KYC and AML information sharing, allowing fraud detection across multiple different institutions. And then in terms of volatility, both the institution and their customers are never exposed to volatility. We're going out and finding market prices before the transaction is executed. The customer knows what is going in and exactly how much is coming out in both of the currencies before it executes. And so what we've managed to achieve here is 85% cost reduction compared to what we're doing today, end-to-end tracking, real payments where it usually takes much, much longer, up to 3 days, and near global coverage through remittance providers who are already integrated with the blockchain. So let's see what this looks like. So on the right, you'll see my phone. I'm going to just log into the app. And here I will be able to select a card. I'm going to choose one of my Visa cards. You can see my balance. This is not my actual card. This is a test card. We are not going to be transferring real value today. We do transfer real value, but I know you guys are watching and I know what some of you people are like. So I'm going to pay. We're going to pay to Andrew, who's one of our developers in Kenya and actually has an M-Pesa account. And we are going to send, we could send any amount. We're going to do 120 pounds. And what you're going to see here, at the bottom you see a Bitcoin address. Usually we don't expose this to the customer, but we wanted you to be able to see what's happening, so we're exposing it to you. This is a unique address that we have found through our routing mechanism, which is provided to us by a particular remittance provider, the one who's going to provide us with best execution. And now I'm going to click send. And you can see that the transaction has sent, as far as I'm concerned, to the customer. So let's see what Visa see. So Visa have end-to-end tracking, and you can see here the backend. You can see that the current status is funds reserved. That means that the funds were reserved for the transaction. And we go through several stages in every single transaction. The average settlement time for a transaction is under 3 minutes. We are actually able to do zero confirmation transactions in Bitcoin and in the other systems. I won't go into how, but it's one of our secret sources. And you can see that already it's starting to progress. The funds have been locked, and the transaction will continue to settle. And probably by the time I'm done, we're done talking here, the transaction will have fully settled. What we're doing here is we're sending for the consumer pounds, it's ending up as Kenyan shillings, and we're doing it over 3 different payment systems in close to real time with live funds. And what are the next steps for us? What we're now doing in partnership with Visa is we're going to other financial institutions, their Visa's customers, working together to integrate it with their systems utilizing the Visa scheme, and begin pilot rollouts for consumers of these banks to create a truly seamless, instantaneous global payment system. Thank you very much.